BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
You're about to listen to another episode of the food programme. Episodes will be released weekly wherever you get your podcasts. But if you're in the UK, you can listen to the latest episodes a whole week earlier than anywhere else. First on BBC Sounds.
In Bradford this evening, they got the news they wanted to hear.
The UK City of Culture 2025 is Bradford.
On a freezing night in mid-January, thousands stand shoulder to shoulder in Bradford's Centenary Square to see the city crowned the UK's 2025 City of Culture. Following Coventry, Hull and Derry, Londonderry, the coveted title gives Bradford a platform for funding the long-term regeneration it needs.
This city in West Yorkshire is to be the new UK City of Culture in 2025. It's a pretty big deal.
I'm in Bradford for this edition of the food programme to find out what food has to do with this grand cultural celebration. Becoming City of Culture takes a long time and a lot of preparation. The work began in 2019 with a team researching and imagining how Bradford would use the title and showcase its arts and culture. So how did food come into it?
Oh, the food culture definitely came into our bid. You know, we're the curry capital of the UK. Food is one of those areas where you can bring fusion, cohesion, playfulness. You know, you can bring flavours together that might not have been brought together if it hadn't been for the communities living together.
That's Shanaz Gulzar, creative director on the Bradford 2025 team.
There's a huge amount of history here in Bradford that sometimes we tend to forget. There were 239 mills across this city and district. The birth of the Labour movement was on the stage of St George's Hall. It's got a huge amount of history. Free school meals started here. So that history is also to be celebrated.
But in recent decades, Bradford has struggled with creating a new identity from the wasteland of its rich industrial past, and an equally rich, though often disparaged, mix of people from different countries, speaking different languages and eating different food.
Our ambition was to kind of create a UK City of Culture that kind of really shifted the narrative around Bradford. Bradford's a very diverse city, and I think sometimes that was used against it. Rather than celebrating, it was seen as an issue, a problem. Hence bidding for UK City of Culture, because we understand the power of arts and creativity to help create shift and change and transformation.
So it's a city with a mission to change its image. Can a TV thriller, thick with gunfights, gang violence, and a scattering of dead bodies, be one way to do it? Light, dark, and complicated. The words of Bradford's own best-selling crime writer and creator of Harry Verdi, the eponymous detective in the current BBC One thriller, writer A.A. or Amit Dand. He's Bradford-born, and Verdi, the TV show, is all filmed there. So when we got the chance to speak to him for this programme, it was just too good an opportunity to pass up.
I describe it as old Bradford and new Bradford. It's old Bradford, you've got that industrial era with the nightmarish ruins of mills. And then you have new Bradford, which is lights, City Park, water fountains, mirror pool. We had so much money in Bradford, it was a powerhouse. And then the change happened, you know, like I said, the industry collapsed. Bradford had to go through a period of regeneration. And as any city has got, every city in England has got light and dark.
Happy Diwali. My mum will be making halwa right now. Loads of sultanas and nuts.
Right. A new tradition. So will you and your boy.
I love you.
I know.
We've just heard that clip from Verdi reminiscing about his mother's Diwali halva. Could you tell us a bit more about that moment? You know, why is that significant in terms of the story? Why did you choose to include that food tradition?
The emotional moment of that scene was me basically thinking, God, especially on Diwali, a day like that, I don't even like hulva, I've got to be honest with you. It's too sweet, too sugary. But on that specific morning, I want to eat it. And I want to wake up to the smell of it cooking because it reminds me of the fact that today's Diwali. So, and I guess I just transferred it into the scene with Harry because whilst my mother isn't here now, his mother is, and he will know that across town in that house, she'll be making this very specific semolina dish with lots of butter and sultanas and nuts. He's sitting there, and in his mind, he can hear and smell and see the sights of that dish being cooked on that very specific day. And it is engaging his emotions to be in the state that we find him in, which is ruining the fact that he's not with his family.
So when you were a child, food, good food, played a real role.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, in a South Asian household, and the funny stories of the cast, because we were shooting in South Asian houses in Bradford, and the cast and crew, they just got fed. I mean, at Sima's house, they loved shooting there because they were getting biryani and samosas. And it's very similar to even growing up. If somebody was working at our house, someone was just painting a room or something, my mother would find it rude not to feed somebody who was working at our house because it's just a part of the culture. So food was a really important part of growing up. I was brought up in a world where there wasn't a lot of South Asian food available in restaurants because it was the local chippy, the local pie shop. Whereas now I think South Asian food is the number 2 most popular takeaway in England.
That powerful scene between the 2 boys, the one who grows up to be the gangster and the one who becomes Harry, when the white boys are stealing sweets from the back of the delivery truck. I mean, did that come out of your childhood?
It did. We had a convenience store and we were the first brown family to move into what was an all-white estate. And our estate, there's only one way in and one way out. It was just basically an enormous cul-de-sac with 1,500 houses. And whilst the majority of the integration was seamless and very friendly, there were obviously instances where, because you're coming in as the unknown, for want of a better word, we did have elements and moments of, some quite tough times and dark times where people, either want to steal from you, or all these sorts of emotional aspects feed into the show. Because I was just a young boy at those times, and I was just watching my dad go through the difficulty of trying to integrate and find his own balance between his South Asian upbringing and identity and this new identity of being in England and forging a new life.
UK City of Culture this year. I mean, are you glad, do you think it's worthwhile to celebrate the role of food culture in that cultural celebration?
Yeah, I think it's, Bradford is known for its culinary delights. We have such an amazing variety of foods here. And I obviously lean towards the South Asian restaurants and food places because that's my favourite food as well. We never talk about coffee in the show. We always talk about chai because we're in the South Asian community and we obsess about our tea and we obsess about the quality of the tea. It's a thing that I do so frequently is I'm obsessed with Indian tea, and I'll try all the new places that open it, and I continue on a daily basis to try and get my tea to taste like my mum's tea, which it never does. I owned my own pharmacy for 10 years and I've worked as a community pharmacist for over 20, and I have really powerful specific examples of moments when someone has said hello to me, or they'd always say good morning, but sometimes they'll just say morning and there's no good in front of it. And I've seen that and I've said, do you want a cup of tea? And I've made an intervention which saved somebody's life simply from that opening statement. I saw my parents do it seamlessly in the corner shop. The amount of times I would come downstairs on my way to school with my school bag across my shoulder ready to go, and there was somebody in the stock room having a cup of tea and they're in tears because, either there's a family drama going on or there's a bereavement, or you can only really do that when you've lived in a customer service world for decades, which I have done.
It must have been a shock to you then when you moved to London to be a pharmacist.
Yeah, I didn't last very long in London. I think I worked there for 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah, it just wasn't for me. I missed home. I missed the level of community that I was used to. It was just too busy and too fast. And yeah, it just wasn't for me. I felt disconnected. So it was a fleeting attempt, and I was very pleased to move back to Bradford.
Bradford crime writer Aamta Waheed. That obsession with tea, spot on, we discovered.
We're on the outskirts of Bradford at their wholesale market, and it's 7:30 in the morning, so we're a bit late really for the trading, but actually some buying is still going on. And Bradford Market is one of the really thriving northern wholesale markets, we're told. We're now at the security gates. Hello.
Morning. Have you an Ivy's jacket? I will give you one.
Thank you.
Okay. Welcome anyway on this nice fresh morning.
Yeah, fresh morning is.
It gets colder. So these guys have been here since 3 o'clock this morning.
So what time do you open?
We open the gates at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
To the public, and close them at 10 o'clock.
Thank you.
If you just return these to this gentleman when you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Forklifts going back and forth, high banks of boxes of vegetables, fruit, spices, herbs from all over the world. A really impressive wholesale market.
Just jump in there. Should be nice and warm. We'll get you a cup of tea or something.
Thanks very much.
What do you like?
Yeah.
White milk.
White milk, no sugar, slightly more milk than you think.
Right.
Yeah.
The first of many teas that day.
Eddie Bowers, I work for Burbank Produce. I trade mainly specialist produce from France, little specialist lines for one or two specialist retailers we supply. So yeah, I'm trading every day, speaking to the French, and then around that we've got programmes from places like Morocco through the wintertime particularly.
I mean, there is a general sense that markets, the wholesale markets, are in decline, because of the supermarket trade and so on. But that's not true here, is it?
No, here's really, this market's full, and it's really multicultural in terms of there's a real fill of different types of business here. We're fortunate because there are markets around the country where they're looking at closing or they've got empty units. We're very fortunate here that all the units are full, and you can't get in here. You couldn't come and start a business in this market because it's full.
I mean, what would you put it down to, that the fact that it is thriving the way it is?
Probably the Asian community. They tend to still shop locally in local communities. We can talk to one or two of the Asian traders later, but I think it's probably the fact that they don't necessarily go to the big supermarkets. They will try and trade locally with the local shops rather than just go to the big four. I put it down to that really more than anything. Right, take you downstairs.
We're leaving this air-conditioned, warm office for a wander around the market, right? There's something very exciting about wholesale markets. It is amazing, isn't it, that it is like a stock exchange, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
The world's fruit and veg.
However, it's perishable,
yeah.
So we've got it harder than the stock exchange. Yeah.
Yeah, money doesn't crumble.
Yeah.
Well, money does crumble away, but not in quite the same fashion as this stuff. So, just go down here and let's look at what countries these are coming in from.
We've got Spanish oranges here.
Spanish oranges.
Spanish khaki fruit.
God, it's amazing. And watermelons and...
Watermelons will be Brazilian.
Yeah, I'm Paul King, I'm the wholesale manager at Burbank Produce.
How important is the restaurant trade then?
The restaurant trade is very important, not just to us directly, but a lot of our retail customers, they've all got catering customers themselves. So we're not just looking after, in brackets, white restaurants that are looking for cauliflowers and fine beans. We've got to look after the Asian community or the Turkish community as well that are looking for a cheaper tomato because they like cooking everything down. They want peppers, they want lots of onions. So we sell more onions now than we ever used to do because of the diverse catering that we have to cater for in Bradford.
So you've seen a lot of change?
Oh, massively. Are you trying to say I'm old?
Why would I say that?
I've been here since the mid-80s, to be fair, so things have changed an awful lot, but it's not for the worse or the better, it's just different. It's great there aren't many markets left in the country that are full, whereas we've got people queuing up to try and get in because we've got such a good market trade.
So what would you say about Bradford food culture?
The food culture is fantastic. You can go for a £10 meal, a £20 meal, a £30 meal, a £50 meal, an £80 meal, all within 2 miles of wherever you live. You get to know a lot of the chefs, a lot of the people that own the restaurants as well, and it is great. You can walk in and they know what you're going to order before you've even sat down. A lot of the places, it's great. They can't make bad food or give bad food out because people just don't go back.
There's no bad food in Bradford.
No bad food in Bradford.
My name is Zafar Butt, partner of AR Butt Wholesale. This business last year celebrated its 60th anniversary. We're second generation running the show now.
We've just been learning about the success of this market. You know, you can't get in, it's thriving. What do you put that success down to?
Over the last 10, 15 years, there's been other communities coming into the field, like the Eastern Europeans, they're in the game now. So they need produce, they need a lot of their own items. So that's complementing the Asian sector and the English sector. So it's quite strong, you know, and so this market can hold its own.
What are you supplying from here to the sweet centre?
They want their base ingredients, so they want their onions, they'll want their own chilies, salady items, so it's with tomatoes, cues, various lettuces, and then there's the herbs. Like the main herb is coriander. All Asian restaurants, they need their coriander. So
okay, well we're going to the sweet centres for our breakfast, right? Yeah. So yes, which I could do with, right? Yeah.
The Sweet Centre, as you may have guessed, started life as a sweet shop. Now it's one of Bradford's top breakfast spots, with almost everyone eating chana puri, spicy chickpea curry served with fried chapatis with a side of semolina-based halva, washed down with, you guessed it, cups of strong tea. The menu is short, much the same, we discovered, as in owner Haroon Habib's grandfather's time.
9:30, and this place is pretty packed. Thursday morning, is it always like this?
Yes, always busy. It's always keeping us on our toes, you know.
So this is the classic breakfast here, which is deep-fried chapatis, spicy chickpeas, and this halva made from semolina. Whereabouts in Pakistan did your grandfather come from?
We originate from Azad, Jammu, Kashmir.
If I was in that area, this would be a common breakfast.
It's a common breakfast throughout the whole of Pakistan. It's very common breakfast, but the concept of it was, behind you there was the drum mill. The concept was that the millworkers are working there, and my grandfather wanted to provide them with a cheap breakfast that keep them going all day, giving that, you know, that traditional taste of home, just reminding them how home food tastes, because they didn't get time to cook at home and stuff. So that was the whole concept of why the chana puri started, and why it was in this location, in this original location where it still is.
Haroon, this is so good, the chickpeas.
Thank you very much. It's the most popular item here. And it's the same recipe we've been using for the last 60 years.
Just tell me a little bit about the history of this place, because it began as a sweet shop, didn't it?
Yeah, so early 60s, there was a lot of mill workers here, you know, migrants coming from South Asia. My granddad met a sweet maker, and so seen an opportunity to start the Asian sweets in Bradford, and then slowly progressed from there.
And is that still a big part of the menu here?
Yes, it is. We've got a full display in the back there with all the Asian sweets, different colours, different varieties. To be fair, the main symbol of Asian sweets is given on a birthday, graduation, weddings, you know, all these sort of occasions. It's more of a gift to give to somebody. Before I forget, my grandfather was invited to see the late Queen Elizabeth II in 2002, and he made her a bespoke box of Asian sweets in a wooden chest box with all the different varieties, different colours. He gave the box to the Queen, and Her Majesty said, "Oh wow, how am I going to eat all this?" And his reply was, "Her Majesty, you've got a big family."
What did you feel about Bradford becoming the UK's City of Culture this year?
I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the community. You know, Bradford's getting a bit better reputation. You know, it's good. I think hopefully there's a lot of positivity that comes out of it. That obviously there's a lot of sides of Bradford that people hear the bad things of, but we need to show people the good side of Bradford, which people don't always get to see.
Well, it's interesting to see in the market, you know, that it seemed from what people told us, that one of the key to the successes of the wholesale market is the fact that Asian people in the city buy from their local shops. They don't go to the big supermarkets. I mean, is that true of your mother? Is that true of, you know, people you know?
Yes, we all shop local. We do go obviously the occasion shop in the big supermarkets, but wherever we can shop local, we tend to shop local. For us, it's more of you're supporting somebody's family. So there might be the odd couple of pence more expensive, but you know it's going to somebody that's probably got a small little family, or if it's got a family, and he's going to be able to provide for his own family.
This is the most delicious breakfast. Why would you ever want a full English? It's just lovely food. I mean, genuinely lovely food.
Right, we should go and inspect the suite.
We'll just go and look at the suite.
Yeah.
A mill worker's breakfast. Not much need for that these days. The mills in Bradford are, though, closely tied to the history of the city's food. Long before Asian immigrants arrived to work in the wool mills in the mid-20th century, people poured into the city in the 19th from Ireland and rural areas all over Britain. Housing was hastily thrown up for the new townies with very basic cooking facilities. Though mill hours were so long, preparing food was not a priority. Takeaways in Britain turn out to have a long history.
You get hawked food, which is just people walking around the residential areas with cans of hot peas, with hot pies.
This is Peter Breers, food historian, writer and the expert on the traditional food of Yorkshire. We met at a Greasy Spoon Cafe inside Ostler's Market, named after mill owner and campaigner Richard Ostler, who helped, back in the 19th century, improve conditions for children and women in the mills. His statue stands outside the market entrance. Inside, we ordered cups of tea.
Bradford, right the way from the late medieval period, has been here purely because of industry. And so right the way through from the late medieval period, this has been a centre of the weaving trade. Then that developed into the factory system. And for the factory system, you need far more people than there were around here. Where's everyone from? From Ireland, and particularly after the potato famine. And then people from Cornwall. People from Scotland when the Clydesdale textile industry went under. There are people from all over flooding in. And then the Asian community as well. This happened all the way through, but I think it was in a larger proportion here and more noticeable than it was, let's say, in Leeds or Halifax.
So let's get back to food. You know, what were people eating in the 19th century, different classes, and when did it begin to become a city known for its Asian food?
Weavers kept pigs. But it also meant there was a good taste for pork products around here, such as black puddings, savoury ducks.
What's a savoury duck?
I happen to have one upon my person. Elsewhere, it might be called a faggot.
It's like a small pillar with a crusty top.
It is. It's basically sausage meat, which has been made into balls about 3 inches diameter, and then packed together into trays, and then when they come out, they're square with rounded tops.
And they're delicious.
And they're very good, just heated in the oven with gravy. And if you made large versions of these, they were what we call haslet.
Aha. And that's haslet?
That's haslet.
Which looks like almost like a slice of bread, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Out in a minute. Yeah.
But it got herbs in it. And cut very thinly so it would go straight into a sandwich.
So what changed when the mills came?
First of all, your income goes down. So this means that the boiled meats and broths disappear from your diet, and you live on porridge, oat cake and a bit of bacon. So this is where the Sunday dinner becomes more prominent. And for Sunday dinner you'll have a joint, you'll have veg, etc. And you'd start off with a Yorkshire pudding, served as the first course. Then you'd have your usually boiled or sometimes roast joint with veg, with potatoes. You'd have a Yorkshire pudding as a sweet. You can put chopped rhubarb into it or currants into it. The other thing you can do is put things onto it, like raspberry vinegar, blackberry vinegar, spread it with strawberry or raspberry jam and sprinkle it with vinegar. put a sweet white sauce on it. All kinds of variety. But you made more than you needed for that meal, and this meant during the course of the following week you could provide your meals to have at the mill.
Now, you've brought a menu for a rather different social class.
Yes. Around here you had probably more millionaires to the acre than any other part of the country. The quality of food was as good as you'd get in the best of London restaurants, etc. And the catering was quite something. And also, it's done a little bit tongue-in-cheek. One of the things I came across a few years ago which explains this is the menu for the Yorkshire Og's Grand Doomant at Alexandra Hotel in the 1870s. It starts off, stuff to go at, 2 or 3 nice things both to sup and to eat, so open the throats and the government rate. You can spread out your towel and sum up this spoon, and let a super turtle run into your shoeing. This turtle, you know, has come out on its shell, and a good English style comes to kittle your smell. And for ye jolly cocks as are partial to hens, there's some nice chicken soup for you, hearty as sends. And just for a supping, to send it all down, with some royal iced punch, this course you can crown.
I mean, there's every sort of, touchstone for luxurious food now in there. Quails, turbot, truffles.
Yes.
Veuve Clicquot. What can you see in Bradford food now that's, or both from that kind of riches, that grandeur of food, but also what poor people ate, the oats and the pork?
That grandeur of food started disappearing just after the First World War, partly due to changing in taste and partly due to economics. If you look round for traditional food, then you can still find the pork pies. Just go up the road to places like Skipton, and there all the pies are served, hundreds of, if not thousands, every weekend, all hot.
When you heard that Bradford was going to be the City of Culture 2025, what did it say to you?
I thought this was a worthwhile exercise in all kinds of ways. Bradford, even in West Yorkshire, is not a place where people would actually come. They might go to Leeds because of the big shops. They might go to Halifax because of its Peace Hall. If people don't know this area, then it's worth coming just to look around. There's the spice stores, it's got excellent cheese stores, delicatessen. We've got a very mixed community, and I think the surprising thing is, thinking about what people like Enoch Powell was ranting on at the time, is it worked. It worked incredibly well.
A glimpse from historian Peter Breers of the city, where long history still gives you the best pork pies, blood puddings, sausages, and those savoury ducks, and where more recent times provide some of Britain's very best Asian food. A lot to celebrate. Two food projects put on as part of Bradford's year of cultural celebration place this mixed food history front and centre. First up, not your average box of biscuits.
I'm Sonia. I'm an artist based in Bradford, and this was recorded on a recent trip to India as part of a project I'm working on for City of Culture 2025.
I'm artist Harry Jelley, and I'm one half of Edible Archives along with artist Sonia Sandhu. We create multi-sensory experiences and installations and artworks which have food and drink at their heart. We're working on a project called the Bradford Selection for Bradford 2025. It's a biscuit tin that tells stories.
To be clear, while the biscuits themselves would be the traditional edible types, i.e. proper biscuits, they're all unique in their own way. Inside the tin, there's a mini magazine and a QR code that links to audio stories from various Bradford communities. There's the biscuit made with the help of Bradford asylum seekers and refugees, with their stories recorded over communal baking sessions. There's one made in honour of Bradford's much-loved Brutalist Sports Centre, named after Richard Dunn, the city's legendary boxer, who was the last person to be knocked out by Muhammad Ali. A tribute to the city's sporting heritage. Meanwhile, a local orchard is supplying dehydrated apple to go into the biscuit representing Bradford's food-growing projects. And there's more.
We're telling the stories of radical politics in Bradford, of community orchards, and we're also telling the story of Punjabi Sikh diaspora in Bradford, which is a story personal to Sonia, so I'll let her tell you more about that.
So as part of this, I wanted to capture some of my family's history, their migration from a farming land in the 1960s to the industrial city of Bradford. And we're recording the gur making process here because when I think about what a connection to our homeland as a third-generation migrant means, so often it's when my grandma brings back homegrown goods like this in her suitcase.
Madhapur is the village that my mum is from. It's where her dad was born. And right now we are standing at the family farm. So we're standing by the field where the sugar cane is going to get planted in the next couple of weeks. ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ Bradford ਸਾਡੀ ਚਾਹ ਦਾ ਕੱਪ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ.
You can hear me chatting there with my granddad and uncle over the sounds of sugarcane being chopped down to size, crushed, juiced and then boiled to make brown sugar. It's what we call in Punjabi gur, and we use it to sweeten our tea back home in Bradford. We muddle through in our half English and half Punjabi conversation. And what's really exciting is that we're getting to use some of the sugar from the farm in our biscuits for the project.
Artist Sonia Sandhu and Harry Jelley, tracing Bradford's rainbow food heritage through biscuits, which, in a city obsessed with tea, is not a bad idea at all. For our own final visit in the city, we took a taxi up the hill to Hubert Street to Women's Zone, a community centre that offers exercise classes, workshops and a cafe, primarily from women from Bradford's South Asian community. But the reason we're here is that it was one of the places where Meet Our Mothers gathered its material.
My name is Aamta Waheed and I am the participation coordinator for Bradford 2025 on the Meet Our Mothers project to collect food stories and recipes.
Just explain to me the Meet My Mothers project. I mean, what's that all about?
So the Meet Our Mothers project is a cookbook that will be coming together that will be representative of the Bradford district and its people and its community, and it's very much an intergenerational cookbook. So through our work in the engagement team, we've been trying to connect with local communities and people and get recipes and recipe stories from them that represent Bradford and that have been passed down to them through generations. So I did the sessions here for Meet Our Mothers, but I also work here for a heritage project. So that's why I'm quite familiar with everyone here. Where we are right now, which is Women's Zone, we did a session here with predominantly South Asian women. And we also visited the Rohingya Community Centre, the Ukrainian Club. We recently went to University of Bradford, so the Indian Society and the Ghanaian Society. We've also met with the Nigerian Community Centre.
And what about the traditional food of Yorkshire and Bradford? Are there going to be recipes from them too?
Yeah, so we've done a public call out as well as an engagement call out. So a lot of the public call out will be representative of the communities that we haven't met with.
What about recipes from your own life? Are you contributing anything?
I myself, I'm really passionate about food and I cook multiple times a week. I'm a British Pakistani and I grew up learning South Asian dishes, and I learned how to cook when I was 11. My mum got swine flu once when I was 11 and no one could cook in the house, and she taught me like over the 4 weeks how to cook. She was like laying on the sofa ill and she'd tell me step by step how to cook, and that's how I learned how to cook my traditional dishes. I felt quite honoured hearing it, and it resonated with me quite a bit because I kind of related with them with some of the memories that they were talking about as well.
Would you say that multiculturalism is something that works in Bradford?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think it works well because everyone here is just so hungry to like do things, like get up and do things, and I think when we work together it works better. And I think one of the examples is like the superstores that you'll see in Bradford. They're predominantly South Asian, but we kind of make those stores welcoming for everyone. For example, having the vegetables, the seasonings, and all of these things that are a part of one store, so everyone from different backgrounds can go to one place to find what they need for their dishes or their food. In the sessions as well, there was a lot of conversation about how, for example, we went to a session with the Jamaican and Dominican Republic community, and they were talking about how they would go to a South Asian store because they'd be able to find some of the vegetables that they use in their traditional dishes. So now if you go to like Al Halal, you'll see them, even though it's supposed to be a South Asian superstore, they sell things like plantain, cassava, and all of these things that they need to make their dishes.
Yeah. What did you feel when you heard that Bradford was going to be?
I was there. I was actually there in the town centre, and I was screaming at the top of my lungs. I was like, finally, amazing. It was amazing news, and I was there with my sector colleagues. We were just so over the moon, and we were so excited to kind of show how friendly Bradford is, how diverse Bradford is. Yeah, I remember feeling really excited.
We'd have liked to sit with Aamta as she did her interviews in different parts of Bradford, hearing the stories and recipes passed down through their families. But as the selection process is still going on and the recipe book won't be published until the autumn, that wasn't possible. But just as we were about to leave, we met one of Aamta's storytellers and recipe sharers, Rubina. She's the CEO of the Women's Zone and was dashing from one meeting to another, but we coaxed her into talking to us about the recipe she'd chosen.
One of the recipe I can remember from top of my head is different Asian curries, the way she used to make them, very simple. Different kind of green leafy vegetable with yogurt mixed in, very healthy. I never liked it in my mom's days, but now I love it.
Where is your mum from?
My mum is from Pakistan.
Which bit?
Mirpur, Azad, Kashmir.
So do you eat that kind of food at home now?
Now I love it. I can do with that every day. But when mum was alive, and I think, I don't like this.
So yeah, the dish that Rubina was talking about is called saag. South Asians would usually eat when it's cold outside.
When it's cold
outside. It's a
and
dish
to be honest with you, now some of my mum's time dishes, I believe, they're so healthy and herbal that, you didn't have to have the medications for, stomach ache and this ache and that. And now, I used to hear that people have different kind of, ailments like weather-affected cold, cough. Because now when I look at the ingredients they use in food, I think they're the one who were helping. For example, what you call desi ghee.
Clarified butter.
Clarified butter. They used to make that at home and use that in all the dishes. They never had any problem. They didn't put weight on. They didn't have heart issues. Very recently, I think 10, 15 years ago, when our lifestyle changed and we brought all this fast food in our diet, that's where I'm hearing more these high blood pressure and diabetes and all these, people are having very often. So I am definitely reviving my mom's and my grandma's time dishes. I'm having that at home, and I'm encouraging my children as well, and they're loving it. Indeed, my daughter, she's learned the dishes now, and because of the, digital development, she's videoed them all, so she can pass on to her daughter.
A return to traditional dishes as a way to hold back the tide of food-triggered diseases such as diabetes type 2, high blood pressure, heart disease, which particularly affect people from South Asia. But back to our Zoom call with Verdi writer A.A. Dand. After our recordings in Bradford, we asked him what recipe he'd choose to put in the Meet Our Mother's cookbook.
My favourite food that my mother used to cook, I've got two. I'm trying to pick the one which will take top spot. Yeah, so they're called aloo paranthas, and they're basically a chapati which is filled with potato inside of it. It's a really hefty dish. Imagine just a normal chapati, but there's a top layer and a bottom layer, and then they're fused with flour, and in the middle is potato, which has been spiced with herbs and seasoning. Drench it with butter, and then you cook it on a tawa at the stove, and you keep flipping it, and you keep putting oil on there, and you keep drenching it in oil to get it as crispy as you can, and then you are presented with a hugely calorific, dripping with butter chapati, which is full of potato. A really unique dish.
A.A. Dand on his mother's recipes. So, Can the emphasis on food that we uncovered, that seems to have grown as the years gone on, help Bradford remake its image, kickstart more pride in the city? And what does the obvious successful integration of many different foods, food histories, food styles in the city say about multiculturalism itself? Here's Shanaz again, a key player in Bradford winning its title.
It works. You kind of think it shouldn't. Interestingly, it does. You know, putting flavours together, bringing communities together. We also know how much what a part food plays in social cohesion, in community cohesion. And for us here in Bradford, we can already see and we can feel the benefits, and we can see the pride, the joy, the confidence it's already giving to the people of this city and district.
Well, for now, it's time to celebrate. And there was a lot of it interrupting our recording at the Women's Zone. Not one, but 2 birthday cakes for the centre's volunteers.
This is a very busy place. Thursday. Someone is on the door now. Someone is on the door.
Bradford, city of culture. Where does food fit into the idea of a city of culture?
I think that was embedded in because it's Bradford. It was a given when 2025 was announced. It was something that had to be included into the programme. Everywhere you go, there's takeaways, there's restaurants that represent all the different diverse communities in Bradford. And I think it was a given when 2025 was announced. It was something that had to be included into the programme. So yeah, it's not something that we can shy away from because it literally showcases the diversity that is in Bradford. And it's the best way that you can do it because food connects everyone. You know, the culture here, we kind of celebrate everything. I can only talk from my cultural background. We celebrate everything. I mean, someone's got a birthday, let's go out to eat. If someone's got an anniversary, let's go out to eat. Go out and celebrate everything, I guess.